The library in Lord Goring's house, an Adam room. On the left is the door leading to the hall. On the right, the door of the smoking room. On the far left is the drawing room.
Got my second buttonhole from you, Phipps?
Yes, my lord.
Very distinguished thing, Phipps. I'm the only person of the smallest importance in the millennium at present who wears a buttonhole.
Yes, my lord, I have observed that.
You see, Phipps, fashion is what one wears oneself. What isn't fashionable is what other people wear.
Yes, my lord.
This vulgarity is simply the conduct of other people,
Yes, my lord.
and falsehood is the truth of other people.
Yes, my lord.
Other people are quite dreadful. The only possible society is oneself.
Yes, my lord.
To love oneself is the beginning of a lifelong romance, Phipps.
Yes, my lord.
Don't think I quite like this buttonhole, Phipps. Makes me look a little too old. Makes me almost in the prime of life, eh, Phipps?
I don't observe any difference here.
Phipps?
No, my lord.
I am not quite sure. For the future, a much truer buttonhole, Phipps, on Thursday evenings.
I will speak to the florist, my lord. She has had a loss in her family lately, which perhaps accounts for the lack of triviality in your lordship's buttonhole.
Extraordinary thing about the lower class in England. They're always losing their relations.
Yes, my lord. They're extremely fortunate in that respect.
Any letters today, Phipps?
3, my lord.
Want my cab around 20 minutes.
Yes, my lord.
When did this letter arrive?
It arrived by hand just moments after your lordship went to the club.
Children's handwriting on Lady Church's pink notepaper. That is rather curious. I thought Robert was to write. Wonder what Lady Church has got to say to me. I want you, I trust you, I am coming to you. Gertrude. I want you, I trust you, I'm coming to you. So she's wanted everything. Poor woman, poor woman. But what an hour to call. 10 o'clock. I shall have to give up going to the Berkshires. However, it is always nice to be expected and not to arrive. I am not expected at the Bachelor's, so I shall certainly go there. Well, I will make her stand by her husband. That is the only thing for her to do. That is the only thing for any woman to do. It is a growth of the moral sense in woman that makes marriage such a hopeless, one-sided institution. 10 o'clock. So she shall be here soon. I must tell Phipps I am not in to anyone else.
Lord Caversham.
Oh, why will parents always come at the worst time? Some extraordinary mistake in nature, I suppose. Delighted to see you, Father.
Take my cloak off.
Is it worthwhile, Father?
Of course it's worthwhile, sir. Which is the most comfortable chair in the room?
This one, Father. I use it myself when I visit.
Thank you. No draughts, I hope, in this room.
No, Father.
Glad to hear it. Can't stand draughts. No draughts at home.
Good many breezes, Father.
Don't understand what you mean. Want to have a serious conversation with you, sir.
My dear Father, at this hour?
Well, sir, it is only 10 o'clock. What is your objection to this hour? I find it a most admirable hour.
Well, the fact is, Father, this is not my day for talking seriously. I'm very sorry, but it's not my day.
What do you mean, sir?
During the season, Father, I can only talk seriously during the first Tuesday of every month, from 4 to 7.
Well, make it Tuesday, sir. That is what I've come here to talk to you about, sir. You have got to get married, and at once. Why, when I was your age, sir, I had been an inconsolable widower for 3 months, and was already paying my addresses to your admirable mother. Damn, sir, it is your duty to get married. You can't always be living for pleasure. Every man's position is married nowadays. Bachelors are not fashionable anymore. They are a damaged lot. Too much is known about them. You must get a wife, sir. Look where your friend Robert Chilton has got to by probity, hard work, and a sensible marriage with a good woman. Why don't you imitate him, sir? Why don't you make him for your model?
I think I shall, Father.
I wish you would, sir. Then I would be happy. At the present, I make your mother's life miserable. On your account. You are heartless, sir. Heartless.
I hope not, Father.
And it is high time for you to get married. You are 34 years of age, sir.
Father, but I only admit to 32. 31 and a half when I have a really good buttonhole. This one is not trivial enough.
I tell you, you are 34, sir. And there is a draught in this room which makes your conduct worse. Why did you tell me there was no draught, sir? I feel a draught and I feel it distracts me.
So do I, Father. It is a dreadful draught. I will come and see you tomorrow, Father. We can talk over anything you like.
No, sir. I've called this evening for a definite purpose. I'm going to see it through at all costs for my health or yours. Put my cloak down, sir.
Certainly, Father. But let us go into another room. Phipps. There's a dreadful draught here. Phipps, is there a good fire in the smoking room?
Yes, my lord.
Come in there, Father. Your sneezes are quite heartrending.
Well, sir, I suppose I have a right to sneeze when I choose.
Quite so, Father. I was merely expressing sympathy.
Oh, damn sympathy. There's a great deal too much of that going on nowadays.
I quite agree with you, Father. If there was less sympathy in the world, there would be less trouble in the world.
That's a paradox, sir. I hate paradoxes.
So do I, Father. Everybody will meet the paradox nowadays. It is a great bore. It makes society so obvious.
Do you really understand what you say, sir?
Yes, Father. I listen attentively.
If you listen attentively, conceited young puppy.
Phipps, there is a lady coming to see me this evening on particular business. Show her to the drawing room when she arrives, you understand?
Yes, my lord.
It is a matter of gravest importance.
I understand, my lord.
No one else is to be admitted under any circumstances.
I understand, my lord.
Ah, that is probably the lady. I shall see her myself.
Well, sir, am I to wait in attendance to you?
In a moment, Father. Phipps, put this letter into the drawing room.
Yes, my lord.
Phipps, remember my instructions. Into that room.
Yes, my lord. What name, madam?
Is Lord Goring not here? I was told he was at home.
His lordship is engaged at present with Lord Caversham, madam.
How very filial.
His lordship told me to ask you, madam, to be kind enough to wait in the drawing room for him. His lordship will meet you there.
Lord Goring is expecting me?
Yes, madam.
Are you quite sure?
His lordship told me that if a lady calls, I was to ask her to wait in the drawing room.
How very thoughtful of him. To expect the unexpected shows a thoroughly modern intellect. Oh, how dreary a bachelor's drawing room always looks. I shall have to alter this. Light some candles.
Certainly, madam.
Wonder what woman he is waiting for tonight. It would be delightful to catch him. Men are so silly when they are caught. Oh, what uninteresting correspondence. Who on earth writes to him on pink paper? How silly to write on pink paper. It looks like the beginning of a middle-class romance. Romance should never begin with sentiment. It should begin with science and end with settlement. I know this handwriting. This is Gertrude Chilton's. I remember it perfectly. The 10 Commandments in every stroke of the pen. The moral law all over the page. Wonder what Gertrude is writing to him about. Something horrid about me, I suppose. How I detest that woman. I trust you. I want you. I am coming to you. Gertrude. I trust you. I want you. I'm coming to you.
My dear Father, surely if I were to get married, you would allow me to choose a time, place, and person. Particularly the person.
That is a matter for me, sir. You'd probably make a very poor choice. It is I who should be consulted, not you. There is property at stake. It is not a matter of affection. Affection comes later in married life.
Yes, in married life, affection comes when people thoroughly dislike each other, doesn't it, Father?
Certainly, sir. I mean, certainly not, heir. We are talking very foolishly tonight. What I say is that marriage is a matter of common sense. No woman, plain or pretty, has any common sense at all, sir. Common sense is the privilege of our sex.
Quite so. We men are so self-sacrificing that we never use it, do we, Father?
I use it, sir. I use nothing else.
So my mother taught me.
It is the secret of your mother's happiness. You are very heartless, sir. Very heartless.
My dear Arthur, what a piece of good luck meeting at the doorstep. Your servant had just told me you were not at home. How extraordinary.
The fact is, Robert, I'm horribly busy tonight. I gave orders that I was not at home to anyone. Even my father had a comparatively cold reception. He complained of a drought the whole time.
Ah, you must be at home to me, Arthur. You're my best friend. Perhaps by tomorrow you will be my only friend. My wife has found out everything.
Ah, I guess as much.
Really? How?
From the expression of your face as you came in. Who told her?
Miss Chiefly yourself. Another woman that I love knows that I began my career with an act of low dishonesty. That I built up my life upon the sands of shame. That I sold like a common huckster the secret that had been entrusted to me as a man of honor. I thank heaven poor Lord Radley died without knowing that I betrayed him. I would to God I had died before knowing that I had fallen so low, or I had been so horribly tempted.
You have heard nothing from Vienna yet, in answer to your wire?
Yes, I got a telegram from the first secretary at 8 o'clock tonight.
Well,
Nothing is absolutely known against her. On the contrary, she holds a rather high position in society. It is a kind of open secret that Baron Arnheim left her the greater portion of his immense fortune. Beyond that can nothing.
she doesn't turn out to be a spy then.
Oh, spies have no use nowadays. The profession is over. The newspaper does her work instead.
I thought really well they do it.
Arthur, I'm parched with thirst. May I ring for something? Some Hawkins saucer?
Certainly, let me. Phipps!
Thanks. Arthur, I don't know what to do. And you're my only friend. But what a friend you are. The only friend I can trust. I can trust you absolutely, can't I?
My dear Robert, of course. Oh, bring us some Hawkins seltzer.
Yes, my lord.
And Phipps?
Yes, my lord.
Oh, excuse me for a moment, Robert. I have to give some directions to my butler.
Certainly.
When the lady calls, tell her that I am not at home. Tell her I've been suddenly rushed out of town. You understand?
And the lady's in that room, my lord. He told me to show her into that room, my lord.
You did perfectly right. What a mess I am in. No, I think I shall get through it. I'll give her a lecture through the door. Awkward thing to manage, though.
Arthur, tell me what to do. I feel like my life has crumbled about me. I feel like a ship without a rudder and a night without a star.
Robert, you love your wife, don't you?
I love her more than anything in the world. I used to think ambition a great thing. It is not. Love is a great thing in the world. There is nothing but love, and I love her. But I am defamed in her eyes. I am ignoble in her eyes. There is a white gulf between us. She has found me out, Arthur. She has found me out.
Has she never done something, some folly, some indiscretion? Has she not forgiven your sin?
My wife? Never. She does not know what weakness or temptation is. I am of clay like other men. She stands apart as good women do, pitiless in her perfection, cold and stern and without mercy. But I love her, Arthur. We are childless, and I have no one else to love, no one else to love me. Perhaps if God has sent us children, she might have been kinder to me. But God has given us a lonely house, and she has cut my heart in two. Don't let us talk of it. I was brutal to her this evening, but I suppose when sinners talk to saints, they are brutal always. I said to her things that were hideously true, on my side, from my standpoint, from the standpoint of men, but don't let us talk of that.
Your wife will forgive you. Perhaps at this moment she's forgiving you. She loves you, Robert. Why should she not forgive?
God granted, God granted. But there is something more I have to tell you, Arthur.
Hawkins seltzer, sir.
Thank you.
Is your carriage here, Robert?
No, I bought from the club.
Sir Robert will take my cab, Phipps.
Yes, my lord.
Robert, you don't mind my sending you away, do you?
Arthur, you have to let me stay for 5 more minutes. I've made up my mind what I'm going to do tonight at the house. The debate on the Argentine canals to begin at 11. What is that?
Nothing.
I heard a chair fall in the next room. Someone has been listening.
No, there's no one there.
There is someone. There are lights in the room and the doors ajar. Someone has been listening to every secret of my life. Arthur, what does this mean?
Robert, you are excited, unnerved. I tell you, there is no one in that room. Sit down, Robert.
Do you give me your word that there's no one in there?
Yes.
Your word of honor?
Yes.
Arthur, you must let me see for myself.
No.
If there is no one there, why should I not look into the room? Arthur, you must let me go into that room and satisfy myself. Let me know that no eavesdropper is there to hear my life secret. Arthur, you don't know what I'm going through.
Robert, I told you there's no one in that room. That is enough. I forbid you to enter that room.
Stand back, my life is at stake, and I don't care who's in there.
Great heavens, his own wife.
What explanation have you to give for the present that woman in there?
Robert, I swear to you my honor that lady is stainless and guiltless of all offense towards you.
She does a vile and infamous thing.
That, Robert, it was for your sake she came here. It was to try and save you. She loves you and no one else.
You are mad. What have I to do with her in truth with you? Let her remain your mistress. You two are well suited to each other. She, corrupt and shameful. You, false as a friend, treacherous as an enemy even.
It is not true, Robert. Before heavens, it is not true. In her presence and in yours, I will explain all.
Let me pass, sir. You have light enough upon your word of honor.
Good evening, Lord Goring.
Miss Shively, great heavens, what are you doing in my drawing room?
Merely listening. I have a perfect passion for listening through keyholes. One always hears the most wonderful things through them.
Doesn't that sound like tempting Providence?
Oh, surely Providence can resist temptation by this time.
I'm glad you called. I'm going to give you some good advice.
Oh, pray don't. One should never give a woman something she can't wear in the evening.
I see you're quite as willful as you used to be.
Far more. I have great more experience.
Too much experience is a dangerous thing. Pray have a cigarette. Half the pretty women in London smoke. Personally, I prefer the other half.
Thanks, but my dressmaker wouldn't like it. And a woman's first duty is to her dressmaker. The second has yet to be discovered.
Have you come here to sell me the Robert Chilton's letter?
On conditions. How did you guess
I
that?
haven't mentioned the subject. Have you got it with you?
Oh no, a well-made dress has no pockets.
What is your price for it?
How absurdly English you are. You English think everything can be solved with a checkbook. I have far more much money than you do, and as much as your friend Robert Chilton. Money is not what I want.
And what do you want, Miss Cheveley?
Why don't you call me Laura?
I don't like the name.
You used to adore it.
Yes, that's
Arthur, you loved me once,
Yes.
and you asked me to be your wife.
That was the natural result of my loving you.
And you threw me over because you said you saw, poor old Lord Mortlake trying to have a violent flirtation with me at Tenby.
I'm under the impression that my lawyer settled that with you on certain terms, dictated by yourself.
At that time, you were poor, and I was rich.
Quite so. That is why you pretended to love me.
Poor old Lord Mortlake, who had only two topics of conversation, his gout and his wife. I never could make out which one he was talking about. He used the most horrible language about them both. Why, Lord Mortlake was never anything more to me than an amusement. One of those utterly tedious amusements one finds at an English country house on an English country Sunday. I don't think anyone is responsible for that, what they do at a countryside.
Yes, I know lots of people think that.
I did love you, and you loved me. You know you loved me, and love is a very wonderful thing. I suppose when a man loves a woman, he won't do it again.
Yes, except that.
I'm tired of living abroad. I want to come back to London. I want to move here and I want to have a salon. If only I could teach the English how to talk and the Irish how to listen, society would be a much better place. Besides, I have arrived at the romantic stage. When I saw you last night at the Chilterns, I knew you were the only person I ever had cared for, if I've ever had cared for anybody, Arthur. And so, the day of our marriage, I will give you Robert Chiltern's letter. That is my offer. I will give it to you now, if we promise to marry.
Now?
Tomorrow.
Are you really serious?
Yes, quite serious.
I should make you a very bad husband.
I don't mind bad husbands. I've had two. They amuse me immensely.
You mean that you amuse yourself immensely, don't you?
What do you know about my married life?
Nothing, but I can read it like a book.
What book?
The book of numbers.
Do you think it's funny to be so rude to a woman in your own house?
It's fascinating, women. Sex is a challenge, not a defense.
I suppose that is a compliment. My dear Arthur, women are never disarmed by compliments. Men always are. That is the difference between the two sexes.
Women are never disarmed by anything as far as I know.
Then you are going to allow your greatest friend, Robert Chiltern, to be ruined rather than marry someone who has considerable attractions left? I thought you would have risen to some sort of self-sacrifice by now, Arthur. I think you should, and the rest of your life you can spend contemplating your own perfections.
Oh, I do that as it is. Self-sacrifice is a thing that should be put down. It is so demoralizing to people for whom one sacrifices oneself. They always go to the bad.
As if anything could demoralize Robert Chiltern. You seem to forget I know his real character.
What you know about him is not his real character. It was an act of folly done in his youth. Dishonorable, I admit. Shameful, I admit. Unworthy of him, I admit. But therefore, not his true character.
How you men stand up for each other.
How you women war against each other.
There is only one woman I war against, and that's Gertrude Chiltern. I hate her. I hate her now more than ever.
Because you have brought a real tragedy into her life, I suppose.
Oh, there's only one real tragedy in a woman's life. The fact that her past is her lover and her future is invariably her husband.
Lady Chiltern knows nothing of the kind of life to which you are alluding.
A woman whose size in gloves is 7 3/4 never knows much about anything. You know Gertrude has always been 7 3/4. That is the reason why there was never any moral sympathy between us. For the privilege of being your wife, I was ready to give up the climax of my diplomatic career. You declined very well. If Sir Robert doesn't uphold my Argentine scheme, I will expose him. Voilà toi.
You mustn't do that. It'd be vile, horrible, infamous.
Oh, don't use big words. They mean so little. It is a commercial transaction, that is all. There is no good thing mixing sentimentality. I offered to sell Robert Chilton a certain thing. If he won't pay my price, he will have to pay the world a greater price. There is no more to be said. I must go. Goodbye. Won't you shake hands?
With you, no. Your transaction to Robert Chilton may pass as a low-sum commercial transaction of a low-sum commercial age. But you seem to have forgotten that you came here tonight to talk of love. You whose lips has created the word love, you to whom the thing is a book closely sealed, went this afternoon to the house of one of the most noble and gentle women in the world to degrade her husband and her eyes, to try and kill her love of her, to put poison in her heart and bitterness in her life, to break her idol, and, it may be, spoil her soul. That I cannot forgive you. That was horrible, for there could be no forgiveness.
Arthur, you are unjust to me. Believe me, you are quite unjust to me. I didn't go to taunt Gertrude at all. I had no idea of doing anything of that when I came in. I called with Lady Markley to ask whether an ornament, a jewel that I had lost somewhere last night, had been found at the Chilterns. If you don't believe me, you can ask Lady Markby. She will tell you it's true. The scene that occurred happened after Lady Markby had left, and was really forced on me by Gertrude's rudeness. I called, a little out of malice, if you would like, but really to ask if a diamond brooch of mine had been found. That was the origin of the whole thing.
A diamond snake brooch with a ruby.
Yes, how do you know?
Because it is found. In point of fact, I found it myself and stupidly forgot to tell my butler anything before I left. It isn't just straw. This is the brooch, isn't it?
Yes, I'm so glad to have found it. It was a present.
Won't you wear it?
Certainly, if you put it in. Why do you put it on as a bracelet? I never knew it could be worn as a bracelet.
Really? Much better than when I saw it last.
When did you see it last?
10 years ago in Lady Berkshire's, when you stole it.
What do you mean?
I mean you stole the ornament from my cousin Mary Berkshire, to whom I gave it when she was married. Suspicion fell on a wretched servant, who was sent away in disgrace. I recognized it last night. I determined to say nothing about it till I had found a thief. I have found a thief now, and I have heard her own confession.
It is not true.
You know it is true. My thief is written all over your face at this moment.
I will deny the whole affair from beginning to end. I will say that this wretched thing was never in my possession.
The drawback of stealing a thing, Miss Cheveley, is that one never knows how wonderful the thing that one steals is. You can't get that bracelet off unless you know where the spring is. And I see you don't know where the spring is. It is rather difficult to find.
You brute! You coward!
Oh, don't use big words. They mean so little.
What are you gonna do?
I'm gonna ring for my servant. He's an Amaro servant. Always comes in the moment one rings for him. When he comes, I will tell him to fetch the police.
The police? What for?
Tomorrow, the Berkshires will prosecute you. That is what the police are for.
Don't do that. I'll do anything you want. Anything in the world you want.
Give me Robert Chilton's letter.
Stop! Stop. Give me some time to think.
Give me Robert Chilton's letter.
I do not have it with me. I'll give it to you tomorrow.
No, you are lying. Give it to me at once. This is it.
Yes. Could you get me a glass of water?
Certainly.
Will you put me on with my coat? Thanks. I'm never going to harm Robert Chilton ever again.
Fortunately, you have not the chance, Miss Cheveley.
Well, even if I had the chance, I wouldn't. On the contrary, I'm going to render him a great service.
I'm glad to hear it. It is a reformation.
Yes, I can't bear such an upright gentleman, so honorable an English gentleman, being so shamefully deceived, so...
Well...
I find that somehow Gertrude's children's letter has found its way into my possession.
What do you mean?
I mean that I'm going to send Robert Chiltern the love letter his wife wrote to you tonight.
Love letter?
I want you, I trust you, I'm coming to you. Gertrude.
You wretched woman, must you always be thieving? Give me back my letter or I'll take it back by force. You will not leave this room until I get it back.
Phipps! Lord Goring merely called so you could help me out. Good night, Lord Goring.